95% of traders lose money, not because the market is rigged, not because they're unlucky. They lose because they're playing the wrong side of the table. Every casino on earth operates on one number, a house edge of 1 to 2%. That's it. That's the entire business model. They don't predict which number hits on the roulette wheel. They don't know if the next hand of blackjack goes their way. They don't care. They let the math do the work, spin after spin, hand after hand, until a 1% edge turns into a skyscraper on the Las Vegas Strip. You've been trying to guess the number. You've been sitting at the table like a gambler, waiting for a feeling, waiting for certainty, waiting for the one signal that finally tells you what's about to happen. Today, I'm going to show you exactly why that's the reason you're losing, and exactly what it looks like to stop gambling against the house and start being the house. You're not stupid. You've read the books, you've watched the videos, you've back-tested strategies until 3 in the morning, moved your stop loss 100 times, trying to find the perfect setup, and you still watch your account bleed out trade by trade. That's not a knowledge problem. If it were, you'd have fixed it by now. You know more about candlestick patterns than most people know about their own job, and it hasn't saved you. It's not intelligence, it's not capital, it's not access to some secret indicator the professionals are hiding from you. The difference is this. Professional traders think in probabilities across hundreds of trades. You think in outcomes across the next one. That's the whole gap. Not a skill gap, a framing gap. That single shift in thinking is the entire game. Everything else, the indicators, the news, the setups, the gurus selling you their system, is decoration on top of that one idea. Let me tell you about 2 traders. Call them David and Sarah. David was an engineer, sharp, methodical, the kind of guy who color-coded his spreadsheets for fun and alphabetized his bookshelf without being asked. When he got into trading, he did what engineers do. He tried to solve it like an equation. He built a chart with 47 indicators stacked on top of each other. Moving averages, RSI, MACD, Fibonacci retracements, volume profiles. 3 different oscillators he barely understood, but which seemed important because a guy on YouTube with 2 million subscribers used them. Every trade became an investigation. He needed to know why the market was about to move before he'd risk a single dollar on it. David wasn't lazy. David wasn't reckless. David was doing everything his brain told him a smart person should do. He read 17 trading books in his first year. He joined 3 different paid Discord groups. He built an Excel model that took him 40 hours to construct, and he was proud of it the way you're proud of something you built with your hands. And he blew through 4 trading accounts in under 2 years. A little over $65,000, chasing a level of certainty that doesn't exist anywhere in financial markets and never has. Sarah waited tables for 9 years before she opened her first trading account. She had no engineering background, no finance degree, no Discord groups. She had one setup, one entry rule, one stop loss size, one position size that never changed, no matter how sure she felt about a trade on any given morning. She took the setup when it appeared, she skipped it when it didn't. That was the entire decision tree. 2 branches, nothing more. She didn't get excited when she won 3 in a row, and she didn't spiral when she lost 3 in a row, because she wasn't tracking wins and losses in her head. She was tracking executions. Did I take the setup correctly? Yes or no? That was the only question she let herself ask. 3 years later, David is still searching for the strategy that finally works. On his 5th funded account attempt, still convinced the next indicator combination is the missing piece. Sarah is trading full-time, and she still can't fully explain to her old coworkers why what she does actually works. She just knows that it does because she's watched it work across hundreds of repetitions, not because she can defend it in a debate, not because she was smarter, because she made it stupidly simple, and then she let volume do what individual trades never could. Here's what separates them, broken down into the forces actually running the show underneath the surface. 5 forces. Stay with me, because you are almost certainly living inside at least 3 of these right now. The first is outcome addiction. Your brain is wired to judge decisions by their results, not by their quality. You take a trade, it wins. Your brain files that decision under good. You take a trade, it loses. Your brain files it under bad. Even if it was the exact same setup, the exact same rules, executed with the exact same precision both times. This is how casino gamblers convince themselves they've discovered a system after 3 lucky hands of blackjack in a row. It's superstition wearing the costume of strategy. The 95% grade every trade like a final exam, alone, in isolation, disconnected from everything before and after it. The 5% grade their process like a batting average, because they already know a single trade means almost nothing. A casino doesn't panic when a gambler wins $10,000 on one spin of the wheel. They know the wheel doesn't have a memory, and neither does the next 100 spins after it. The second force is complexity addiction. Adding another indicator, another news source, another confirmation signal feels like progress. It satisfies a very real psychological itch. The feeling of being productive, of doing something about the uncertainty instead of just sitting with it. But complexity isn't a strategy. It's a coping mechanism wearing a strategy's clothes. Dressed up to look responsible, the 95% keep adding layers because each new layer promises the certainty the last one failed to deliver, and the promise never actually gets paid. The 5% go the opposite direction. They strip the chart down until there's almost nothing left, because they've accepted a hard, unglamorous truth. More information doesn't mean more edge. Half the time, it just means more noise, dressed up in a suit, more reasons to hesitate at the exact moment you needed to act without flinching. The third force is the control illusion. Traders desperately want to control whether a trade wins. They can't. Nobody can. Not the guy on CNBC with the confident tie, not the hedge fund with the Bloomberg terminal and 40 analysts, not you at 2 in the morning staring at a 5-minute chart. What you can control is your entry criteria, your position size, your stop loss, and whether you actually follow your own rules. When the pressure is on and your hands are shaking a little, that's it. That's the entire list, and it's shorter than you want it to be. The 95% spend their energy trying to control the uncontrollable, the next candle, the next headline, the Fed's next move, the whims of institutions with more information than they'll ever have access to. The 5% spend all their energy on the 4 things they actually own, and let the outcome of any single trade be exactly what it is: noise inside a much bigger signal. The fourth force is emotional leverage. This is the quiet killer, and it's the one nobody talks about on trading Twitter. It's not the loss itself that destroys traders, it's the emotional weight they attach to it. A $10 loss and a $10,000 loss can trigger the exact same internal spiral if the trader has tied their identity to being right about the market. Revenge trading isn't a strategy failure. It's an emotional one. It's a person trying to fix a feeling with a mouse click, not a position with a plan. The 95% take losses personally, like the market reached out and insulted them specifically. The 5% take losses statistically, the way a casino takes a losing hand. Expected, priced in, already accounted for before the cards were even dealt. The fifth force is the short sample delusion. 10 trades feels like enough data to judge a strategy. It isn't, not even close. 50 feels like enough. It still isn't, not really, not in a game with this much variance. Your brain evolved to spot patterns fast, because in the wild, fast pattern recognition kept you alive when a rustle in the grass meant a predator. In the market, that same ancient instinct makes you abandon a genuinely good strategy after 5 losses in a row. Or double your size on a genuinely bad strategy after 5 wins in a row that were mostly luck. The 95% make decisions on samples too small to mean anything statistically. The 5% think in hundreds, sometimes thousands of trades before they'll even consider whether an edge is real or just a lucky streak wearing a strategy's name. Before we get to the shifts, let's kill an objection that's probably forming in your head right now. You're thinking, but professional traders and hedge funds do predict things. They have research teams, they have models. They're not just sitting there running a mechanical edge like a casino. Sure, Some of them do genuine directional research, but look closer at the ones who actually survive decades in this business, not the ones who blow up spectacularly after 5 good years and disappear from the headlines. The ones who last are running strategies with a small, repeatable edge across thousands of positions, with strict risk controls that don't bend for any single trade, no matter how convinced the portfolio manager is that this time is different. The famous quant funds didn't get rich by being right more than they were wrong on any individual position. They got rich by being right just slightly more than half the time, at massive scale, over millions of trades, and letting the law of large numbers do what it always does. Quietly, in the background. That's a casino with better math. That's still the house. Let's put real numbers on this, because abstractions don't stick the way arithmetic does. Say your strategy wins 55% of the time. Your average win is $100. Your average loss is $80. Run that once. You might win, you might lose. Pure coin flip territory. And if you judge the strategy off that single trade, you'll learn absolutely nothing useful about it. Run it 10 times. You'll still see wild swings, sequences of 3 or 4 losses in a row that feel like proof the strategy is broken, even though it isn't broken at all. Run it 100 times, though, and the noise starts collapsing into signal. 55 wins near $100, 45 losses near $80. You're sitting on roughly $1,900 of edge, purely from repetition, purely from volume, without a single improvement to your win rate. That's the entire secret hiding in plain sight the whole time. The edge was never in any one trade. It was always in the 100. Now here's the part where I stop describing your problem and start giving you the actual shift. 5 shifts. Not motivational fluff about believing in yourself. Concrete behavior changes you can start tomorrow morning. Shift 1. Stop grading trades. Start grading executions. After every single trade, ask exactly one question. Did I follow my rules? Yes or no? Not, did I make money? Did I follow my rules? A losing trade taken according to your plan is a good trade with a bad outcome, and you should treat it that way in your own head. A winning trade taken by breaking your rules is a bad trade with a lucky outcome, and it will quietly train you to repeat the exact behavior that eventually wipes you out completely. Sarah kept a simple log with 2 columns. Rules followed, rules broken. Nothing about profit and loss in that log at all. Within 6 months, that log told her more about her edge than her account balance ever could, because it measured the things she actually controlled. Shift 2. Cut your strategy down to what you can defend in one sentence. If you can't explain your entry, your exit, and your risk in a single sentence each, you don't have a strategy. You have a collection of hopes wearing indicators as camouflage. The casino's edge on a roulette wheel can be explained in one sentence. There are 38 numbers, but the payout acts as if there were only 36. That's it. That one sentence, repeated across billions of spins worldwide, generates billions of dollars a year through pure, boring repetition. Your edge should be that simple to state out loud, even if it's much harder to execute with real discipline when money is on the line. Shift 3. Size every position the exact same way every single time, regardless of how confident you feel. The moment you start sizing up because you feel more certain about a particular trade, you've reintroduced the outcome addiction you're supposedly trying to kill. Casinos don't let the pit boss double the house's exposure because the dealer has a good feeling about the next hand. Confidence is not information. It's a feeling, and feelings are exactly what got you into this mess in the first place. Position sizing isn't where your confidence goes. It's where your discipline lives, permanently, unconditionally. Shift 4, reframe every loss before it happens, not after. Before you enter a trade, say the loss out loud, in dollars, not percentages, because dollars are what your nervous system actually reacts to. If this hits my stop, I lose $200, and that is completely acceptable, because I take this exact setup enough times that the math works in my favor over the long run. Pre-accepting the loss strips it of its emotional charge before it ever has the chance to hijack you. It stops being a wound and starts being a line item, the same way a casino writes off a losing hand before the cards are even shuffled for the next one. Shift 5, Track 100 trades before you judge a strategy at all. Not 10, not 30, 100. Minimum, this single rule alone would save more traders than any indicator ever invented. It forces you to think in the volume the math actually requires, instead of the volume your impatience is comfortable with. If you can't commit to 100 repetitions before forming an opinion, you're not testing a strategy. You're testing your own patience, and right now, you're failing that test. Notice what's happening across all 5 shifts. None of them are about finding a better indicator. None of them are about predicting the market more accurately than the person on the other side of your trade. They're all about behavior, repeated identically, thousands of times, until the underlying math finally has room to take over. Because here's the deeper truth underneath all of this. You've been trying to be a gambler with good instincts. What you actually need to become is the house. The house doesn't predict outcomes. The house enforces process mechanically, without exception. A blackjack table doesn't need to know what card comes next. It needs the dealer to hit on 16 and stand on 17. Every single time. Without feeling, without a single deviation, because the dealer had a good feeling about the next card sliding off the shoe. That mechanical consistency, repeated across millions of hands a year, is the entire multi-billion-dollar business model. Not prediction, repetition of a small, boring mathematical edge, executed without emotion, at scale. When you stop being a trader chasing certainty and start being a system enforcing an edge, everything downstream changes. You stop caring about any single trade because a single trade was never where your edge actually lived. You stop needing to be right because being right on any given trade was never the job description. The job was showing up, executing the same process, spin after spin, hand after hand, trade after trade, and letting a small statistical advantage compound across a volume of repetitions you couldn't get from 10 trades, or even 50. This is where I have to deflate the excitement a little because trading culture will not tell you this part, and the influencers selling courses definitely won't. Being the house is boring. Deeply, almost insultingly boring. There's no adrenaline in taking the same setup for the 400th time with the same position size you've used since trade number 1. There's no rush in a loss you already priced in mentally before you even click the button to enter. If trading still feels exciting to you, if your heart still races on every entry, if you're still refreshing your P&L every 4 minutes like it's a slot machine, you are probably still gambling, not running a business. No matter how sophisticated your chart looks, professional casino floors are quiet, efficient, almost sterile, honestly. If you've ever actually stood on one, nobody working the pit is emotionally invested in whether the next hand goes the house's way. Because nobody needs to be. That flatness isn't a bug in the system. It's the entire point of the system. Boredom in this game is the signal that you've finally stopped needing the market to entertain you and started needing it to simply cooperate with the math over a large enough sample of repetitions. Think about what you actually get excited about right now when you trade. If you're honest with yourself, it's probably the moment right before you click the button. That surge of anticipation. The feeling that this trade is the one that changes everything. That feeling is not insight. That feeling is your brain releasing the same chemical it releases for a slot machine pull. And it has absolutely nothing to do with whether the trade is any good. The 5% have trained themselves to notice that surge and treat it as a warning light, not a green light. When a trade feels thrilling, they slow down and check whether they're about to break a rule. When a trade feels like nothing at all, just another entry, number 401 in a long, uneventful series, that's usually the one that was actually taken correctly. David eventually understood this, but it took blowing 4 accounts and $65,000 to get there. He stripped his 47 indicators down to one setup, one that he could explain to a stranger in under 15 seconds. He started logging executions instead of outcomes, the same 2-column system Sarah had used from day one. He stopped needing to know why a trade would work and started trusting that, across 100 repetitions, his edge would show up the same way a casino's edge shows up across 100,000 hands. Not on any single spin, not on any single Tuesday afternoon, but in the aggregate, in the number, in the slow and boring math that doesn't care how you feel about it. Sarah never had to unlearn anything because she never learned the wrong lesson in the first place. She's still doing the same thing she was doing 3 years ago. Same setup, same size, same rules, word for word. She just has more zeros in her account now because volume did what no single trade ever could, and patience did what no indicator ever will. So here's the choice in front of you, and it really is that simple. Even if simple doesn't mean easy, you can keep doing what the 95% do, chasing certainty on every individual trade, grading yourself by outcomes you were never in control of, adding complexity every time you feel afraid instead of sitting with the discomfort, and abandoning strategies before the sample size ever had a real chance to prove itself one way or the other. Or you can make the shift. Grade your execution, not your outcome. Cut your strategy down to one sentence you'd say out loud to a stranger. Size every trade the same, no exceptions, no matter how you feel that morning. Accept every loss before it happens. In dollars, not percentages. Track 100 trades before you let yourself judge anything at all. The casino never asks whether tonight's spin is going to hit. It already knows the answer to that question doesn't matter. It just needs you to keep playing long enough, consistently enough, boringly enough, for the math to do what it has always done. Quietly in the background, spin after spin after spin. The only question left is which side of that table you're going to sit on.